All right, we're live, honey. Can you do like a testing?
Testing. Are we actually?
Because
I know.
You lower your voice.
Are we actually live though, or are you just?
Well, no, we're not live. We're
Okay.
recording.
That's different.
But you go testing. This obnoxious,
okay.
Like radio persona.
So next up on how to accept your spouses for failures.
Well, because you don't realize how much I have to do to edit this.
I'm sorry.
I know you have the potential of talking very loud when you're passionate.
Yes, but when I'm contemplating, I talk more quietly.
I know. So that's why we have the microphone face at him, and we're researching better microphones.
Yeah, I think we need two.
Yeah, you need your own. I don't think I need one.
Well, in a way, you still need to be able to have your voice put on the internet.
I need a microphone. I don't think I need a microphone close to my mouth.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. You're right. I do need a microphone.
Well, just glad we cleared that one up.
Literal. Okay, well, so it's Friday evening and our kids are it's date night. This is what we're doing on date night.
Yes, this was my Anna's request.
My request for date night.
I like doing this stuff with her. So.
Yeah, this will be fun. I just feel like this is a really fun one because we're talking about our Lydia and her birth story. Mm-hmm. I feel like I keep smiling.
Yeah, you do. She just delights in me so much.
If you could see the recording, he had to put on the Christmas lights in back to really set the Christmas mood.
I still have not put anything above the fireplace.
Okay, if this goes on YouTube, you need to move in. Okay.
Yeah. Now she's taking some of the microphone back. So.
Okay. All right. So let's dive in. So this is going to be about our technically fourth baby, but our third baby's birth, that the full term birth, because we have Benaya, who's 4, we have Cora, who's almost 3, and then we were pregnant, and it was in April of 2020. This is right before my birthday that we miscarried. Because I felt.
Are you sure? I thought you miscarried in May, honey.
No, it was okay. Well, it's on a wind chime. It sounds.
She's not good with details.
Okay, sorry.
The only reason I say that is because Memorial Day weekend, remember?
Yes.
And we were still struggling because I thought it was like the week before that. Or 2 weeks before that. So that would have been May.
So I found out in April, right before my birthday. We
found out that you were likely going to miscarry.
Because I had pain and I went to the ER during 2020. So the ERs were like a ghost town. And they said that there wasn't a viable embryo, right? And then they so it was April that we found out something might be wrong, but then it did take like 3 weeks because they're like, well, you might be and then you might not be, and then we
limbo, and then you told everyone we were having twins.
Well, they found 2.
They had like 2 sac, like they don't. Yeah, it was like 2 sac, like.
But the reason I really do think we were pregnant with twins is because I had a dream the night before our final ultrasound that did confirm the miscarriage, and I had this dream of like 2 babies in the womb, so kind of that like fetus feature, like what, like an ultrasound picture. I had a vision of 2 of those kind of suspended in the air, and I just knew that meant they were in heaven. So that is why I do believe it was twins, not because of the 2 sac legs, but because of the dream. Because I think God is more.
And I do remember you saying that.
Yeah. But the more profound thing at the time wasn't twins, was that I did not think that God answered our prayers in the sense of that what we were praying for a healthy baby. Yes, exactly. So and I recorded a podcast on the miscarriage story with another friend who had miscarried, But I do want to build up into that, because I do think, that does set up your next pregnancy, different. I don't, if somebody would ask me, how did this fourth pregnancy affect you differently? I don't feel like I would say I noticed any sort of different behavior, but I know how I felt. So do you want to share anything that you?
The only thing I would say is I think I was more intentional to pray for the baby more.
Yeah. Because you like understood like
because like we had two healthy pregnancies before. We miscarried, so we're kind of like, oh yeah, we're on easy street. And so we just kind of, I think, took for granted the fact that we would have a healthy baby. So that was more. So then when we miscarried, well, we heard about it, and obviously the month or so before we actually knew you were going to miscarry, it was more. Then I was like, wow, I have not been doing a good job of praying for our child. And then I became more intentional, but obviously then I carried that into the next pregnancy. Yeah. With Lydia.
Yeah. But, well, and you were very intentional, with throughout the miscarriage, with until we found out for sure that we would miscarry, you were praying and fasting, so.
Yeah. And obviously, until you actually miscarried,
because we didn't trust what the doctor said.
Well, I'm not just going to give up, until it actually happens, whether they say, because God can do anything.
And that's for possible. Us, on top of that, I did naturally miscarry in the sense. Now I have a close friend who just, they had just gotten a DNC, but for us, there was just different circumstances. Like they didn't know. They're like, well, maybe you just weren't as far along. So for me, it was never this, no, you're not pregnant. Just might be, maybe we just have the date wrong. And that sort of thing. So that's why a DNC just never felt okay for me. And we did miscarry at home. And again, that story is documented already. But I would say for me, one of the biggest things was, I don't know if we were married or like newly married, but I had heard this story of a couple being able to have like 2 kids, no problem. And then after, I think it was about foster care. So that's why they did foster care, was because after that, they could never get pregnant. So even though I kind of felt that we would be able to carry again, that story was kind of in the back of my mind in the sense that we're not guaranteed anything, kind of like what you're saying of like, being intentional of prayer, because, God might have a different journey for us. And I do feel like each couple has different hardships, and, and it kind of was like, God, is infertility going to be a part of our story after that one miscarriage? Obviously now that we have Lydia, I don't feel like obviously that story has not replicated for us, but I would say that, that was, and then it did kind of feel like hard, my one friend who miscarried, actually, we had very similar birth stories, and she had one and then miscarried. And then, so we kind of miscarried similar times and then got pregnant similar times. And she had posted that she's like, I thought, oh, when I see the 20-week ultrasound, I'm going to be confident. And she, but she's like, the reality is I'm not going to be confident until that baby is in my arms. And I think that's how I think overall, that's how I felt with this story, was the landmarks of, okay, if something happens now, we would never abort. We would just have the baby either induce labor early or C-section, take the baby out, so by the time like we hit like a viable age that they're most likely to be able to survive outside the womb, then I was like, okay, no matter what, I'll get to meet my baby, even if it's through, like a glass. So I think like those milestones became more real. And I just think for me, I remember like almost always wanting to, how like when you write, you do like an asterisk. I think like whenever I or other people would say stuff in my head, my mind would go like asterisk if the baby is healthy and comes to term, because I think I said this to you, that our reality was that not every baby does come to term. And as much as we want it to, it just doesn't. And like, that was a new reality. that we're not guaranteed this baby full term.
Yeah. And I just think, it's what God says in his word, that you're not guaranteed, tomorrow.
Yeah.
But so don't be going around saying everything you're going to do. Say if the Lord wills it, and I think that was, that was just more, I guess, brought to the forefront.
Yeah. That was more our reality. Yeah. And I don't think either one of us lived in fear.
No, but it was more like
reality.
Yeah. Like, okay, God, we do pray that we can still have another child. But we can spend a long time on this.
So we can go on. So I just wanted to talk about that, of like, that was a little different with this pregnancy. However, throughout this pregnancy, another thing that was different was the whole time I felt unsure about having a hospital birth, because I know a lot of people who had the babies during COVID, like the height of COVID, and when everything was so unknown, and they were like, oh, I don't know if my birthing partner will be able to be there, and that sort of thing. So I just knew that I had certain standards. I didn't know exactly what those standards were, but I knew I had a very low threshold for uncertainties when it came to our birthing plan. So I think I told you early on, like, well, how was it for you with possibility of having a home birth? What do you remember me dialoguing to you?
You mentioned it once or twice. And so I could I could see your uncertainty, because I know you wanted to have a home birth with at least one of our children. I got to get close to this microphone. You wanted to have a home birth with at least one of our children, and you just brought it up more.
And I feel like, if this is what I said, if we're going to have a home birth, this is the year to have it, because there's many reasons to have a home birth with, like I couldn't even I didn't even want to hire a doula if they couldn't be in the hospital room, that sort of thing. So yes, I do remember, and COVID stuff died down, and then it picked up because we were due in October. So then stuff started to pick up. So anyways, but so let's kind of go into then okay, so the background is with how our insurance is set up, is if we have a home birth, we have to pay for it. It comes out of some account somehow. But if we have a hospital birth,
I have an HRA, so if we have a home birth, we can get reimbursed for it through the HRA.
But it comes through.
It ultimately comes from money that is in an account for me that they set aside for that.
We're married. Isn't Wisconsin a 50-50 state, honey?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it's a long-term health savings account. So so we do have the savings for it. It's just you don't want to use it if you don't have to.
Yeah.
And we don't have to, because how our insurance is set up is if we have a home birth hospital birth, we don't pay a penny.
Correct.
So, okay. So that's the setup of it. So it felt like I want to have a home birth, but it felt like, that's dipping into savings for our future. And is it really worth it? So that's where we were at. It was like, so deep down, I wanted a home birth, but also deep down, I'm like, I am kind of thrifty and savvy in some ways. I'm like, it depends.
You are. We're both. We both have no problem spending money, but we have different priorities. Yeah, we also don't just like to spend money uselessly.
Exactly. So it's like, how I always put it is like, if I could pay for if we needed a what do you call that, to put a window in your basement?
Egress window?
Yeah, like if we needed an egress window, do I want to have a home birth or have an egress window? Like that's how I kind of always like thought about it. Even though, okay, so anyways, so I knew that it would take something to really prompt me to go out of my way to spend money on this birth that we otherwise wouldn't have to pay for. So COVID wasn't proving to be any sort of unknown. Like we were even told, yeah, we could, if we let them know ahead of time, we could have a doula. You know, it was a good chance you would be there. I was not going to push in a mask, and they did not seem, you know, like that, like, yeah, you have to have a mask on at all times. It did not seem like that.
That would be the most silly
Horrible. Yeah. So, anyways, like, so there wasn't really any reason until, and I guess I can, okay, you explain it from your end of how you remember me saying, hey, I think this is gonna happen ish. Like
I think what you said was, I think I called you after work and you're like, we're gonna have a home birth.
No that was wonder about we have marital issues. That's what you remember.
That was all you said. And then you're like, but if it's okay with you. And I was like, okay, yeah. I think it's already been decided, honey. But that's how I remember it. I don't know. I mean, I can't recall exactly what you said, but it was something very like to the point.
Yes.
And then afterwards you kind of like said, what do you think about it?
Okay, let me just tell you what happened.
That's what I remember.
In my husband's defense, I'm at home with the kids. He's working. He has other things on his mind. Okay. So for me, the hospital that I was going to birth at, now, okay, rewind. I've had 2 natural, great vaginal births at a hospital. So I've had great and wonderful hospital experiences. Most people who switch to home birth after hospital is because they felt very robbed of good experiences at the hospital. I did not have that. Okay. So like I said, I was like, why pay money for an experience that I don't mind? But people talk about loving home birth, you know, and all that. Okay. So that was always in the back of my mind. Okay. So the hospital that I was going to birth at had switched to making a statement that they were going to mandate their employees to.
Yes. And I didn't share that part because you did communicate that to me.
Yes.
But you're like, I've decided.
Okay. Yes.
And then you're like, because
of this. Okay. Yes. So he is right in that. So, but how it all came about was, okay, so there's a long story building up, but ultimately what it came about was on Theta Care's website, on their Facebook post, I had commented, my heart goes out to these employees. And like that, like, you know, when you just get this conviction, it's like 1,000 thoughts at once, but one thought. That's kind of what it was like. It was like all these, like my mind was racing, but it was like one thought of, Anna, if you feel so bad for these healthcare workers, and if you want them, and if you pray that they're willing to stand up for what they believe in, well, put your money where your mouth is. Are you willing to support them by not supporting the establishment that they and we ultimately agree with? Does that make sense? So it was like a bunch of those thoughts all at one that I just knew if all I'm going to say is on a Facebook comment, oh, I feel bad for these employees, then I actually don't really, and then I'm going to go and let my healthcare dollars, like give them my healthcare dollars, then I don't really feel that bad for them. Right.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's just lip service.
Yeah. So, I think, and that's, you know, that is the struggle I feel like with the times we live in general, is because everyone says, oh, I don't like, let's say, big business, or I don't like, you know, Facebook's, you know, control and everything. But guess what? They're always on Facebook. You know, like very few people are actually willing to be like, no, I'm done with them because I don't support the way they do. And it is a form of, let's quote unquote, cancel culture. In a way,
there can be cancel culture
because you're canceling them for the way they cancel others. You know what I mean? But ultimately for them, it's money.
Yes.
And so
let the money talk.
Yes. You affect policy by money because it's people.
Okay. So you're right. So before this, I had just heard that Theta Care was going to mandate. And so that's when I messaged you and said, they're going to mandate. I really think that we need to pray about this. Would you, and I think I asked you, would you join me in prayer about a home birth because of this issue? And then probably an hour later, all this happened. And it was like answered prayer. Like that was like the spirit of conviction. And that's when I did say, yeah, it's not like I have to do this now. Like I feel like my spirit has been convicted, and so I did kind of tell you, but it was because of a conviction, not just, I feel this, so you need to get on board.
It sounded better the way I said it.
It did. Now, I would say then that your stipulation was insurance, that the HRA, you said as long as insurance will cover it.
That I just said, let's just make sure insurance will cover it.
Yes.
It wasn't that we wouldn't have done it, but then it would have been obviously that's just like something we'd have to rearrange stuff for.
Then we really need to talk about where this money is coming from besides our health savings account that already had it. Yep. Okay.
And we just want to make sure we could be reimbursed. If not, we would have had to like come up with a different way to pay for it.
Exactly. Because we didn't have the money set aside for a home birth. Because
we didn't plan on
also, spoiler alert, I was 38 weeks pregnant.
Yeah.
This was not like week 1. This was week 38 where I was feeling contractions. This is the first. So I needing these Braxton Hicks where like I have my people on call. Like I was like one weekend, I'm like, I think this baby's going to happen. So like, I feel like we decided this on Wednesday, and then that Saturday. So I called them and we had an appointment scheduled on the next Monday. And I thought I was going to have a baby that weekend. We didn't. So we go into that first appointment at 39 weeks, really.
30.
I guess
38 and a half.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Yeah. So 38 and a half, we go into that appointment. And so what did you think about that for that meeting the midwife for the last time before our birth?
Yeah. It was fine. I mean, no, we knew we wanted to have a home birth.
But up until then, like, I was like, well, maybe this won't happen. And I will give some background is I didn't really I wanted to go to the hospital actually, like, because by this point the hospital was familiar to me. Like I said, I liked it. I knew what to expect. They would bring me meals.
That was the biggest thing.
That was the biggest thing.
Because she was like freaking out about. And I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Because she likes to eat healthy, and I don't normally make the healthy meals for her. So she was like stressed that now she has to be nursing a baby and then also like directing what I should make her in the kitchen. So I get it. Like that was why she was stressed out.
It sounds funny, but I was like, I figure out the meals 365 days a year. Like the one time I don't want to figure out meals is after a baby when I don't know it's going to come. It's not like, oh, you're going to have a baby on Monday morning, so plan meals around. This is like, you never know when you're going to have a baby. So I kind of wanted a hospital birth, even though I wanted to try a home birth. I kind of wanted a hospital birth, but like once we handed her the check and like just giving her the money, it was like, then I went home. Then I think I stressed out. I was like, we go home from that appointment and walk into the house. There's toys everywhere. And then I sit down and go to the bathroom and there's like, oh gosh, I see some mildew in the tub that I'm going to labor in. And like, I just felt this immediate, like, woof, like, oh, like now I have to clean my house all the time till baby comes, because who wants to birth in a chaotic environment? And somebody gave really good advice that like, just keep the room that you're going to birth in clean. But I was like, I don't know. I've never had a home birth. Maybe I'm going to want to birth on the front porch. So maybe we have to keep that clean too.
Oh, we don't want to get into that with the neighbors, honey.
No, we don't. But anyway, so like actually it was a journey of like really processing it. And I had to talk it out with some people. And so fast forward, the really cool thing was God totally showed up in that. Like we got more meals for this birth than
any of the other births.
I think so.
Yeah. We did. I mean, because it was like a long time that meals came.
It at least felt like that. Yeah. And especially right after birth, my friend like picked up food from 2 different places. I got to eat Katsuya sushi, and I got to have some like my favorite food. I got to like cherry pick my favorite food after birth. And in the hospital, you get like crappy hospital food.
Yeah, it's not good.
So
like pre-frozen meals.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking too quiet again.
So the whole point in that was like what I was, and like to fast forward to like the house, I could tell I was in pre-labor. So like we woke up and we cleaned the house. So it was like the house was, so it was just so cool. Of what I was truly worried about, the Lord totally took care of. So that's really cool. So okay, so that is why we chose a home birth. So then let's go into that story. So Monday was a pretty normal day. I think like because I had so many false alarms where I think I like texted my group of like backup babysitters like 2 or 3 times now. I was like, you know what? No, this baby is, I got to the point where I was like, this baby is never coming. I think I told you that.
You're at 39 weeks.
Yeah. 39 weeks. I'm not even like overdue. But I think I just had to tell myself, settle down. You don't know. So then, okay. So we just got a message from the babysitter. The kids are sleeping. So that means we're good, I think. Just means that for us,
we don't have to rush.
No. Okay. It's not like they're crying.
Yeah.
Okay. So so it's Monday, and I sat down on the couch. I started a Netflix show because I felt off, but I said I feel a little. Do you remember that? It's like I feel.
Did I stay home on Monday?
No, you did not.
Okay.
You worked, but I think you came home and I was on the couch or something. And I said, I feel a little off, but I'm sure it's nothing. And then that night because I took a picture of it and Benny didn't eat it. So Benny went to bed early. Pork steaks on the grill with really good grilled vegetables. And we made those sweet potatoes. We cut up sweet potatoes like hash for like
this is a girl who forgot she took a trip to Washington D.C. But yet she remembers the whole meal the night before the baby.
Okay, there's reasons why, because Benny wouldn't even.
Yeah, I know, he went to bed hungry.
Yes,
again.
and you went to bed with him. It's like 6:30. Yes,
I know, I was really tired, so I just started a new role at work like that same week or the week before. So it was a lot of change going on at ours.
Yes. Oh yeah. By the way, like his job, he was supposed to work like 7 minutes away from our house. And then he got moved to a job an hour and 20 minutes away.
Yep.
At like when I was 38 and 39 weeks. So yeah. So that's the backdrop to that. So no, I remember it because I took a picture of it, and it's in our birthing video. So that's why I can remember. Honey. Okay. The Washington Monument is not in our birthing video. All right. So so it was a beautiful night outside. It was a Monday night, and I didn't know I was in labor at this point. It just was, I was a little tired that afternoon. I worked out that morning. Very normal day. And you were pushing the kids on our new swing outside, and I was doing dishes. And Benny refused to try a hash brown and said he was hungry. He said, if you need to eat this, because the night before he ate a sweet potato fry. And this was a roasted sweet potato and he would not eat it. So we were like, no. And then, so he was so upset. You laid in bed with him and you guys fell asleep. And actually Cora fell asleep shortly after, like right around 7:30. And so I was left alone. And so I actually laid in bed and I went back to the show that I started because I knew I was going to have a baby. And when I have a baby and when I breastfeed, I watch a show so that I have something to look forward to while I'm breastfeeding and not like resentful that the baby's woken me up the 100th time. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to have a baby soon, I better find a show that I like. So I started watching this show Maid, M-A-I-D, on Netflix. Pretty good. And so you guys went to bed. And so I started watching it. And then all of a sudden I was like, Okay, this was also the first baby that I had Braxton Hicks contractions for. I didn't have that for the other one. That's why I had so many false alarms. But all of a sudden, it was like, all of a sudden, I think from like 8 to 9, I was kind of like, oh, something feels different. And then all of a sudden, those like memory cells came back. I was like, at 9 o'clock, I was like, this is a contraction. So I started, so I downloaded the contraction app on my phone because I didn't have it downloaded yet. And sure enough, it was like, I think every 15 minutes apart. I was like, this is a steady contraction. This is not like the Braxton Hicks. So that was from 9 to 10. And then you came to bed at a certain point. So do you remember anything after that? No.
I was really tired.
He's really tired. So he can't, but I told you, honey, I think I'm having contractions.
Yeah.
I'm tracking them, but.
And you said they were pretty far apart. Yeah.
They're far apart.
That's all I remember.
Yes.
And then I was like, okay.
So we both slept from like 10 to 12:30.
Yeah.
So then we both fell asleep.
But we were both wide awake because I went to bed so early. Remember, we woke up, or was
at
it
like 1?
Oh, at like, I thought it was, yeah, we woke up like both of us like wide awake.
So I think I woke up at 12:30 and you woke up at 1, and we were both wide awake, and that's when we got up and cleaned.
Yeah, because we were both like.
And when I got up, the contractions like picked up to the point where we called the midwife around like
5-ish, right? Or something.
I thought it was like 2:30, but either way. But
yeah, it was early.
Yeah, it was 2:30 that I was like, okay, rewind a little bit as well. I had this dream that this baby came so fast. Do you remember that? And I would tell people that.
You're like, this one's going to come out so fast.
So fast, so easy. Because in my dream, I just had the baby and it was like pain-free. And in my dream, I told everybody, oh my gosh, you need to have a third. Those third come out so easy. You need to have a third. So that was the, like, okay, so.
She's reading too much of that Ellie Mae's book or whatever.
Whatever. Did you ever read that, or did I just tell you about it?
You just told me about
it.
It was
you would get weirded out by that one. She's like the mother of home births. Yeah. So anyways, so we both got up and cleaned, and then we kind of reached a point where it was like everything was kind of clean, and my contractions were like 4 minutes apart. That's like the contraction app said you need to go to the hospital, but we weren't going to the hospital. So finally we decided, okay, let's at least call the midwife, because if this baby does come quick, like my intuition tells me it will, then like we should at least let her know I'm in labor. Because like if the baby comes 10 minutes later, we would be like, why didn't you call? But if the baby doesn't come in 10 minutes, you're like, why did we call? So we called, and her wise advice was lay back down. If the contractions go down, then just rest, because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
And if they pick up, well, call me. That was great advice. It's like, oh yeah, that makes tons of sense. So I lay down, and they went back to like every 10 minutes. And you went back to sleep, and I watched my show. Which was good. So like I basically labored in bed, but very restfully, like very like. So then the kids woke up at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
Typical.
Yep. And you got up with them, and you were like on the couch with them and that sort of thing. And I, again, just stayed in bed resting, because I knew this was the real deal and I needed to be rested. So, so then I would say at a certain point, though, it got to the point where I needed to grab the desk next to me, or the side table next to me. Maybe just say that was,
I don't remember,
7, 8 o'clock.
Well, we didn't call her again until like noon, right?
No, we called her at 9 because she came and checked at 9.
Oh.
So she texted me. She's like, how you doing, Anna? We live really close to where their office is. So she said, how you doing? And I said, so this was right around 9. And I said, well, actually, I do feel like they're picking up in intensity and like pain wise. She's like, well, let me come check. So do you remember how far along I dilated? I feel like
you were like nothing.
No, I guess it was. It was like 4.5 centimeters. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you probably were. And then and then I was just thinking when she came back the next time though.
Yes, I did not progress,
nothing.
but I was like feeling a lot more pain,
but you were more effaced. This when she came back.
Okay, so when she came at like 9 a.m. in the morning, I was 4.5 centimeters, which was far for me. Because my other pregnancies, I was only like two when I got admitted to the hospital because I was in active labor. But I was 4.5. So like my mind was like, yeah, check. I told you this would be a fast and easy birth. And I was 90% effaced.
Not the first time.
Yes. The first. Well, then what was I?
Maybe you were. Maybe you're 100% the second time she checked. I don't remember.
She never really said any more of like what I was effaced. I don't think.
There was a mention that you were like 100%.
Oh, okay. And I don't know that I remembered that for sure. But anyway, so I was 4.5. So I was like, yeah, I was like, this baby is coming before noon. So your sister-in-law, Megan, came because she was going to take pictures, and our friend Kate came. Mm-hmm. And so basically from 9 to noon, I still could talk and laugh.
Yeah, we were joking around a lot.
I got in the tub, and then Kate brought me an unwich.
That you ate.
Yeah, in the tub.
Yeah, it did not look good.
Oh, it was so good to me though. Is it number 9 unwich? But
again, the details she remembers.
But what I remember from that too is like a piece of my lettuce, because they shared their lettuce, fell in the tub, and I was like, is that part of my mucus plug, or is that the unwich? Because my mucus plug started coming out at different times.
Yes.
Do you want to go into detail about that?
I think we can move.
Okay. So basically I would say from 9 to noon was a lot of like active labor, but like pre-light labor. I would say that. And then we started timing again. And I think the midwife came then at 1 o'clock, and she stayed. Because we were like,
no, she wasn't there that long. We called her at like 1, I think, and then she showed up. She was only there for like 2 hours.
It felt like so much longer.
It did. Right? We felt like, I was like, my gosh, I feel horrible. We called you so early.
Yeah, we're taking away from you and your family time or business time. Yeah. But she was not. It was only there
for like 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just felt like forever.
It did.
I think both of us had the expectation it would go fast.
I thought I would have the baby before 2 o'clock, but when noon rolled around, like things kept like steadily progressing. So I was like by 2 o'clock, and then so by this time 2 o'clock she comes. So then when she checks me for the second time, I was only 5 centimeters dilated, and that was a little defeating, but because labor really was starting to like pick up in intensity. Like, how was that for you? Crickets. Yeah. Do you remember?
Yeah, it must have been horrible for me.
So horrible you blocked the memory?
No, it was, I mean, for you, it's very emotionally taxing on me.
Explain that. What is it like for a dad?
I would say not emotionally, but like exhausting.
How so?
Because you're just like, you're trying to be present and focused, because like trying to be with you the whole time.
When you're not like experiencing it with me.
Yeah. So there's like this, like you're in all this pain or you're feeling all this pressure, and I'm just kind of there.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what I can do to help.
And you have other people.
And then it's like, how I can't stay focused on this for that long without like needing a break myself, because I'm like so focused on you.
Yeah.
That it's like, I almost need a break because I'm so focused that it's like, I can't stay focused that long before I'm just like, I don't want to say it, but it's like the staying focused for that long induces like a stress of its own.
And you're more empathic. So like you feel more things. Mm-hmm. So you probably, that's probably exhausting for you as well. And it is like this is a marathon, not a sprint. So you don't know
when the baby's coming. It's like, excuse me.
Is this boring you, honey?
No, I'm just tired.
I know,
was
I'm
up
joking.
at 4.
This is our bedtime, 7:45. Okay, so the rewind. Our first 2 pregnancies, we had a doula there. And this time we didn't. And I missed, even though we had a midwife, I missed having a doula there.
Yeah, because she's more like a friend.
Yeah, she's just clicked so well with both of us. So there is something to be said about finding that. So I missed having Danielle, we missed you. So but a doula kind of shares that role, I feel. But I feel like I have the best birthing partner because I just think that you do. Our doula really, you picked up on what our doula taught you.
Danielle trained me a lot.
Yeah. And you stepped right into that.
Well, because somebody had to tell you to keep moving. She's like, I'm just gonna take a nap.
Okay, like, yeah. So here's
I'm like, I want this baby out. I can't take it any longer.
Remember how I told you I didn't sleep much? Like Michael slept more. So at like probably 2:30, I just knew. I think in my heart of hearts, I knew I'm not gonna have this baby right now. I don't know when I'm going to have this baby, and I'm not in transition yet. So this is the time to rest. Like this is the calm, even though I was still contracting, this is a calm before the storm. So my body told me this is the time to rest. And my midwife was like, yes, rest. And Michael's like,
you get 5 minutes.
Yeah. Seriously though. Like I was like, no.
Well, because you want the baby to come, your sleeping's not going to get that baby out
so
yet.
What our doula taught us was like, every few contractions, you got to move. If you want the baby out, you got to move. It's true, right? But also a part of the wisdom is when knowing it's time to rest. That's just
and
a part
I
of it.
let her rest later. A little longer.
He did. But okay, how I would describe me at this state was like, you know, people who like are like so cold that they get sleepy and they're about to die. Like hypothermia.
They get warm then.
Yeah. So that's like, if I could describe how it felt, it was just like, just let me sleep. And it felt like if I like really let myself relax too much, I would like give in to the light or something. So that was in the back of my head of like, even though I couldn't, I mean, I kept contracting, but I felt like, no, just let me go. It's like everything else like faded and just resting. And I started snoring, right?
Yes.
I definitely fell asleep. It wasn't like a deep sleep, but I definitely fell asleep for, I would say, what, 15 minutes?
Not even.
Yeah.
I didn't let you lay down.
No, because he's like, honey, you wake up. And I think the midwives were like, you jerk. Like, I sleep. That's how I felt.
Yeah, well, they can be mad all they want. They weren't helping.
The midwives take the approach of that my body knows what to do and just let it be. And a lot of that comes back from people who come from a medical field that was very invasive into people's spaces. A lot of women want that, like, hands off, I know what to do. Me, I'm a little in the middle. I'm like, tell me what I'm doing.
Because you wanted some direction.
I did. I was like, it mainly like, is this, I needed to verbally hear if what I was doing was conducive or not conducive. And that's why Danielle was just such a good fit. She's like, you need to move, that staying still is not conducive. So anyways, so the midwife checked me at like, when she got there, she checked me, it was like 5 centimeters. And that was a little defeating because I was like, I mean, I was more calm in my breathing, but like to give you the point, I was like, dude, this baby is coming. And it was like, no, it's not. It's 5 centimeters. And she didn't give us an effacement. So then went about, I would say, an hour where it was like contractions got more intense, where it was like, like, and that's when I know when they're intense. And like, because I'm normally like this, but when I get like, and I would say this pregnancy was more emotional.
Yes, because you really you were like tearing up, and just I think you were tearing up. You're like, I just don't want to have the pain.
Yes.
And so we had to pray a couple times.
Yep.
And stopped and prayed. And
I was afraid of the pain.
You were afraid of the pain, and that's what you said.
Because like, you know how like your body remembers things? It's like you forget it until you're in it. And I remembered Benny was a very painful birth.
Yeah. It was a long.
Benny, okay, people have labored longer, but I labored an average time, but then I pushed for so long. And then it was like, by this point, after like 2 rolled around, I still didn't have this baby. I was like, like Benny, they broke my water at whatever, 5, just say 5 o'clock. I didn't push them out till like past midnight.
Yeah.
And so like, it kind of started hitting me. I might not have this baby in the next few hours. Like, it could be tomorrow I could have this baby. And then that's when like my mind started playing tricks on me. So that's why like it's a spiritual battle, or a spiritual game. And I said, and I had Michael and people pray for me, because I was like, I'm afraid of the pain. Please stop. Because I know that it just, with Benny, I remember my labor stalling until I had people pray for me. And then I feel like that kept it up, because I feel like people discount the spiritual aspect of prayer, of laboring. So, but obviously this is the Rise and Climb podcast. So that's kind of cool, because this Rise and Climb aspect came into it, of like, hey, yeah, this is painful. A lot of people want to give up when they're just about to reach the summit, but that's the best part. So that was convicting, but at the same time, it was like, I don't want this, so I definitely was more emotional.
Yeah. You actually somehow maintained your sense of humor, though, even late into the pregnancy.
What happened?
It was while you were like going to transition.
Oh yes, I remember.
And so like with Benny, because she had to push so long. Yeah, I forget. It was like you pushed for like 3 hours or something. Your eyes were like popped out of your head.
Yeah, I looked beat up.
She didn't know how to push. Yeah, you have to learn how to push.
It's an art, and I didn't know how to with Benny. So
she kept saying to the was it a midwife?
It was a midwife. Yeah.
Like, how many pushes?
How many more?
Just how many more pushes?
How many more pushes?
And so
they would just laugh at me and like,
well, they didn't laugh, but yeah, she would just be like,
keep going.
You just got to keep going. Every time it's helping a little.
Keep going.
And so when she was in transition, she was like, how many more pushes?
Because that was an inside joke at that point, because they had known about
they knew
that.
about it.
Yeah, so we all laughed. Yes. So I was a little more like, is lucid the right word? Like, I was a little more like aware like that.
Yeah.
But okay, so you expect this home birth, like, it's this water birth, it's this beautiful experience. For me, I was like, get me to the bed, and I just laid down like this cow, like ready to like move. Like, that's how I feel like my birthing position was. It was like, I have nothing, like, I'm exhausted, just I cannot hold my body up. Like, because with Cora was a faster birth. So I thought this birth would be even faster.
Yeah, Cora came out quick.
Yes, and so I had Cora on my knees because I had energy to hold myself up. And with Benny in this birth, I was like, like, this is
Benny or Lydia?
Both. I feel like I just couldn't hold
Benny,
myself up.
I was like,
you're holding my legs.
You were holding your legs up because you were exhausted.
Yes. This, I was just laying on my side with my leg open, like, this baby better come like this, because that's just the position that felt the best. And so this is so this was the disheartening thing, and we're almost done, but like, she checked me, at first at 9 a.m. it was 4.5, and then she checked me at 5, and then remember, I was like, gosh, I just need to know where I'm at. Should I like check now? And you're like, wait 3 more contractions, and then we'll flip a coin.
Yeah, we did a lot of coin flips.
Yeah, we did a lot of coin flips to decide what to do. So the backdrop of this is I tested positive for group strep B, and like that increases risk of infection. So you don't want to check too much and all that. So that was kind of at the back of my mind. And I did not want to do antibiotics. So so we did 3 more hard contractions, and then we flipped a coin, and it said it was tails, which has meant to get checked, tails meant to not. So tails said no, don't get checked. So
then we waited.
We labored
another like hours.
Well, again, it felt like she was there forever, but just say 30 to say.
No, it was close to an hour, because remember your water was broke shortly there after she checked the second time.
No, I don't think she broke my water yet. Oh no, she didn't, because this is why. So okay, so with the other pregnancies, when they broke my water, like the baby came, like things really picked up. But up until now, like the time she had checked me, which I think was only 2, like my water was not ready to be broken, because the other times the sac was like there. And it was like, if the sac is there, I say just break it, let's get this thing going. If the sac's not there, I leave it be. So this is my theory, and this is why I think God is just so cool, and what he knows is we flipped the coin, and the coin said no, do not get checked. So because had we gotten checked, then like my water probably wouldn't have been ready to be broken, then we would have labored even longer, and it would have even taken longer. So we flipped the coin and said no, so we labored probably close, just say half hour to an hour. So, but at that time, I didn't even need to flip a coin. I was like, mentally, I need to know where I'm at, because labor was really intense for me at this time. So she checked, and she goes, I was still only 6 centimeters dilated, which was,
I don't think you gained. I think you like stayed at the same.
It was like 5.5. She was like 5.5, 6, which is
very subjective.
It very, and she admits that. So, but she said, but my water was ready to be broken. And so this was at 3:30, because
no, it was at 3:45.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 3:45.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Specifically.
So again, I thought I was going to have this baby at noon. So no, it's 3:45. That's 4 hours, close to 4 hours later. So she's like, okay. So in the home birthing land, a lot of people don't have their water broken. They prefer it to be natural. In Anna land, get this show on the road. This is a mental game for me, and I need to just get this broken. Because if you've never had a baby, within 24 hours, they will transfer you to a hospital, because it does get dangerous without the baby being protected by the water sac. It is kind of like you are choosing to break that water, which does then put a timeline on births at some point. Okay. So I was like, well, am I going to want the water broken or not? Because especially with testing positive for group strep B, the chance of infection increase with the water being broken longer. But she's like, I really think if we break this water, this baby is going to come. Remember, I'm at most 6 centimeters dilated. I have to get to 10 centimeters. And I was like, what do you think? She's like, I think if I break this water, the baby's going to come quick. And I said, well, how quick? She's like, I think we'll have a baby by 4:30, and it's 3:45. And I was like,
sold.
You had me at 4:30. So I was like, break that sucker, so she broke the water, the goosh, and everything. And then, but she said, but labor is going to pick up, and it got intense. And I think at that point I was laying on my side. I was like, because that's like the noise you make, right? So do you remember anything about, you want to add anything to this?
No, that's the noise you made.
So anyways, then long story short, this is the funny part. I needed to communicate to her that I felt different. So, because, okay, there's this thing called transition where you feel like you're ready to give up, and that's when you're closer than ever to birth. And I don't have any drugs, so I feel everything. And so I needed to communicate, and I'm like this, and this is the part where, like, you're in active labor when you can talk and joke, and who's in the room. When you're in transitional labor, somebody could be robbing your house and you wouldn't care. You're so zoned in to the sensations and everything in the body, every contraction, you just focus on this. So the whole point at this point is to keeping the breath under control and that sort of thing. And but all of a sudden, like, then you start to feel this burn because because the head is crowning, so there's tons of pressure down there in your cervix, so you feel this, it's a sensation that feels like a burn. And so I needed to let her know something feels different, because till this point your body starts to want to push, like you have a bowel movement, so you like start to bear down, like, and then, but she's like, no, she's like, let me check you. She's like, no, do not push yet, you're not ready to push, because if you push when the cervix isn't dilated, that causes swelling, that causes issues. So up until then, she was saying, don't push, Anna, don't push it. You're not ready. You're not at 10 centimeters. Because so it was like that's what it's like, right? So I had to tell her, just so you know, I feel something different, like kind of like, is it okay to push? So I was like, I feel the burn. Like all I could get was like, I feel the burn. Do you remember that? It's just like so funny. I feel the burn. And so she checks me, and then do you remember what she said?
Yeah, she's like, you can
push. Now. So I didn't believe her though.
Yeah, because you didn't push like the first couple times.
The first couple times I was like, she's like, no, you can push. So then all of a sudden, and then I had to transition to that pushing, which with Benny I didn't know how to, but with Cora now in this one, I knew how to. And so I could not have pushed more than 5 minutes. The actual pushing. With Benny was 3 hours. Cora was 20 minutes. Pushing this baby was
fast. 5
minutes at most.
Yeah. And
sure enough, that baby was due at 4:27, and she said the baby would be due by 4:30.
Yeah.
And so after the baby came out, I said, what time?
No, you first said, what is it?
I said, what is it?
Because no one could see. We were on the bed and the lighting was dark. You couldn't really see very well.
Yeah.
And Anna like knew the whole time. She's like, I'm having a girl.
I'm having a girl. Told everyone this. Her name is Lydia.
She told everyone this for like months.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how do you know? And she's like, I just know. And everyone rolled their eyes,
Yeah. And some people were like, okay, but like so it's like, what is it? What is it?
So then I had to like crawl on the bed and go over there, try to like, and I was like, it's a girl. And so then
I said, I knew it. I told you. And I wasn't even trying to be prideful. I was just like, it was more of like a proclamation of my faith. Like, I knew it, that's how, but after you've labored, like, you don't care. I was just like, oh, get this baby out. And then I was like, what time is it? 4:27. And it was just like this, like, I called that the baby would be a girl. She called that the baby would be born by 4:30. So it was just really fun like that. And then I was like, because I invited my mom. I'm like, where's my mom? My mom should be here. So then I was like, where's my mom?
Yeah, that was like one of the first things you said.
Yeah, because it was like, I invited my mom to my birth. She's not even at the birth.
Well, you didn't want her in the room during the laboring and pushing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want a lot of extra people. Like, I didn't want anybody to like ruin my zone, my zen, my and that sort of thing. So yeah, but I thought my mom would come into the room. How I pictured it was when I was actually like truly like laboring, I didn't really want a lot of people in the room, but like pushing, I didn't, like I said, like Marv and Harry from Home Alone could have been there. So anyways,
well, I didn't know that, otherwise I would have got her for you.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know that either, until afterwards. It was like, my mom's not even here. She should be like, doesn't somebody want to see this? Because a lot of people do. So anyways, yeah, then it took a bit to birth the placenta and push the placenta out. And it was like, and so, but overall, the labor was so much harder than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And do you agree?
Yeah, I think we both were expecting
it to be easier.
It to go Yeah. Even though it really wasn't that long, but it just felt
So
that long.
I swear she came at 1. So it was like you were only here 3.5 hours. It felt like you and I both felt like she was at our house for 12 hours.
Yeah.
The coolest thing was how the older kids were in and out.
Yeah. Benny and Cora were able to come in and see you like 5 minutes after.
Oh my gosh, they saw the placenta.
Yeah. Benny was a little weirded out.
I think so. Okay, so 2 things that I want to cover yet is people, and I worried about this too, like how like messy is a home birth. I think you should answer this.
No, it was really clean.
Yeah.
They did a really great job of putting pads down. I mean, at first I didn't even think anything got on like sheets or anything. And then you said you found like a little spot or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so that was like,
and they
considering like all the blood and everything, it was like very little, and like they cleaned everything up.
So and how they are, once you really get into like, because they know when you're more in labor.
Yeah.
Once you like, if I was at a spot longer than 10 seconds, they brought a pad and put it down in case that's where I labored.
Yeah.
And they do give instructions on how to prepare the bed with like extra pads and that sort of thing. So yeah, so a lot of people worry about that like a home labor is going to be like this placenta on the walls and stuff, and that is just not how it is.
No, it was very clean.
But okay, so what was your favorite thing about having the home birth?
I think most of all, I just didn't feel like a prisoner. You know, if you go to the hospitals, I mean, they have so many rules.
Well, they don't want you walking out with somebody else's baby. You can't do anything.
You can't go here. You can't go there. You got to be buzzed in and out. You can't, you can't even go in the hallways sometimes, especially with COVID stuff going on. So it's like, there's just all these rules, and like they come in when they, like they have all their protocol, and you're in their zone. So I get it, but man, is it annoying. And it's nice because you just felt very free. Like, oh, we have a baby. I can go into my kitchen. I could leave very easily and get food if we needed. I mean, thank God we're blessed by so many people. But yeah, like it just is like so much nicer from that aspect. I don't know, like if I felt like magical like home birth experience.
Yeah,
because it's still a birth and there's still labor, and it's like that stuff doesn't change just because of location. But I felt like the comfortable, like it was like you were able to feel more comfortable.
Yeah,
because you have your bed.
I feel like if you would ask me, so people are like, what did you think? If you would ask me the actual birth in and of itself, that to me didn't matter that much of like where I was, because I would argue that my births, all very different, were all very similar. The actual birthing process, besides, moving someplace. However, it's the afterbirth and the aftercare that I would say is the biggest difference for me. Yeah. And it was because again, I had all vaginal births. So like even in the hospital, I got up and I went in the shower. So at my house, I got up and I went in the shower. That wasn't different. It was once the doulas left or the midwives, by 6?
6, probably by the time the baby was made. And
yeah. Yeah. And that was really fun. And so that was the thing, like that was probably the most special part, was afterbirth. Our kids came and saw the baby and like in our own house. And then so we have a really good setup where my neighbor, like we could text her, the kids came and the kids left. Yeah. So that first of all was really cool. And then second of all, how I describe it was we went to our couch and we laid down and we probably put on a Hallmark movie. Oh yeah, because like
she would never let me put that on.
I love like intense, like
I can't stand
blood warm movies.
Life's like that. Birth was drama enough for me. she wants all this. I can't take that.
Both of us agreed after this that we were both ready for something super lighthearted. Like the birth was heavy, like of like just like intense emotions. So, but like we're sitting on our own couch watching our own streaming services, like super comfortable, and our friend brings us like sushi and delicious food. And then first of all our kids, second of all just being in the comfort of our own home post birth. But then what I realized was in the hospital, like you transition into another room, at least where I birth, but like you transition post birth to like post care, and you get used to like that baby in the hospital setting, and then you transition home. So it's like you have two transitions in the hospital where it felt like we had so much time with this baby.
Yeah, it definitely did. And because I get stir crazy in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't do nothing for that long.
Because I'm preoccupied.
Because Anna has like things with the baby to do.
And like I just had a baby from my vagina. So
yeah,
like
so she needs the rest and just the peace.
And going to the bathroom is a big deal.
Yeah.
But not for you.
No, but I think from my point of view, I mean, gosh, it's not like I'm in any horrible situation where I have to endure, but it is like I'm just sitting here.
It's a different torture. Yeah.
And it's like like in a hospital, it's like there's nothing I can really do or pursue. I can read a book that I brought or something like that. But versus like being at home, it's like there's so many things.
You could just get up.
I can get you. But you're just home, so you can be like, oh, well, Anna's doing that. Now I can do this.
And actually
because Anna's sleeping.
Yeah.
And I was able to like answer a couple of work emails, which I probably could have done in the hospital. But it just
you
was
went to the den and did
that. Because Anna was sleeping, and then I could get into like a separate space. And I don't know, it just was like so much nicer from that.
So post birth, that to me is the biggest difference. Now, somebody could argue just leave the hospital as soon as possible. Yes.
Yeah. Try to get out of there. Yeah.
There is so much rigmarole.
Well, you really can't leave until, did I check into the hospital voluntarily, or did somebody commit me because you're acting like I'm a prisoner in this place? I mean, that's how they treat you realistically.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like they have their protocols, but ultimately it's my decision to be here, and it should be my decision to leave whenever I want.
Yeah.
But if you try to do that, they'd probably call you in for abuse or something.
Yeah. But it is like, we're paying you. Like you work for us, but that's not how the whole system
that's not how they're set up. They're set up like they are the ones, because it's their place, right? But they don't act like you're like a customer.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't treat you like a customer.
Yeah.
They treat you like almost like they're doing you this service.
Yes. And just
I don't know. That's just my little beef
because and from their viewpoint, they see a lot of bad things happen. Like if bad things happen, they see it. Like if home births go wrong, in the sense that there's complications with the home birth, like they see it. You know what I mean? If there's complications in the birth, not the home birth, because home births are actually very there's very rarely an emergency transport. So anyways,
it's for pain management.
That's what they said.
First time
mothers, yeah. And I can see why. And after this pregnancy, it was like, I know why people get drugs. Like, it wasn't like, why do I do this? Because I know why I do it. I was like, I just know why people get drugs. I didn't feel that after Cora, but I would say this one was my second hardest birth. And it just was, so it was more difficult because I had two other births now to compare it to. And so your mind plays tricks on you. It's like, okay, if one was really hard, two is easier than three. And with that dream, this is going to be easy. So when it's not, your mind starts to play tricks on you. So it definitely is spiritual prayer, and grounding, and kind of like, I listened to some hypnobirthing. stuff in the sense of like what you tell yourself. So you have to ground yourself in like, I can do this. I am strong. I am made for this. God is with me. So it's really staying centered. That takes a lot of energy to like say those things and block out the like, oh, you haven't had the baby yet? When are you going to have this baby? Why haven't you had it already? Is something going to go wrong? Oh, this could be harder than Benny. You know what I mean? So it's like you're fighting those births. And then on top of that, I have 5 sisters in my family, like 5 full sisters, same mom and dad. So same genetics. And I'm the only one, all of them had babies, and all of my sisters have ended in C-section. So in the back of my head, there's this, well, is this going to be the birth that ends in a C-section with me? And so it's really is that spiritual grounding that has to take place. But with all that, so that's why a lot of like, I feel a lot of people do transfer too, because it's like you have to be spiritually, emotionally, in a sound mind, grounded. And I think like that's the whole like rise and climb mantra of like, instead of freaking out of, I can't do this, I want to turn back, like bring me to the hospital. It's like, no, there's no turning back. And
burn the ships, honey.
Burn the ships. We're here. We're not going back. I
read that again.
What is that from?
It's actually from I think it's Cortez, when he came to South America with the conquistadors and was going to
Zorro?
No.
Oh.
No.
I love that movie.
And he was, I think it was Cortez. I don't quote me on that or whatever. And he was actually marching with his troops towards, I think it was the Aztec Empire, because the Mayan Empire was in demise. So the Aztec Empire, like Montezuma, I don't know. He played a role somewhere, but I don't know if that was the right time. Anyways, into Mexico City. And he told the soldiers, like, gave this inspiring speech about how, like, this is like, we're braving this world, like, into this new world, and we don't know what lies ahead. But he said there's no turning back, and he ordered his ship sunk. And he's like, we're going to either win
or die,
but we're not turning back. And I mean, he had like something a little bit more powerful to say, like inspiring, or at least that's what's recorded historically. And so that's what he did. He sunk all the ships, and the soldiers marched like into the unknown new world.
And they took it, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to that story. But anyways, but it was like the whole point of it was like the courage to like get rid of your ability to turn back. It's like, we're gonna go forward, and yes, it's like very courageous and unknown and scary, but we're gonna push on. And that's what I really like about that song, which was based on it,
Burn the Ships
by
For King and Country.
Because it is a powerful message. I think it's a powerful message about just about anything in your life. Sin, your old past. It's like, you need to burn the ships. You need to, it's like, and it's not easy to do. It's scary. Everything you've known is on that ship, and the safety of the ship. But it's like, in order to get anywhere, in order to brave a new world, you have to sink the ships.
You have to, because there's people, because
can't turn back.
Because he probably knew it in himself. Like, it wasn't just his people. It's like,
no,
I would want to run back. Like,
well, yeah, if you know that you have an option, but if you don't know, the only thing you can do is move
it changes.
On. Yeah.
And I would say that's probably like burn the ships. That's probably a theme for this birth, was like, even that meeting that we had, that first meeting with our first and only meeting till we were laboring with our midwife, like handing the check. To me, handing the check was burning the ship. Like, we can't tell her not to cash it. Like, we've had a meeting with her. It's going to take some money from there. Like, okay, we're doing this, and then once you labor and you get to a certain point dilated, you cannot get an epidural. So like, for me, it was, once we were in there, it was like, I either need to push this baby out, or I have to transfer to the hospital, and I can't even get an epidural. So that means a C-section. So it's like, it was like a burn the ship moment of like, get this baby out, because I have no energy. I can't I can't transfer. I can't even imagine going into an ambulance right now. I've got to push this baby out. So I feel the burn, that like that sort of thing was like, there's no turning back. Like this, I'm in a natural childbirth, which I chose. So it sounds funny, but yeah. So I would say in all this, I forget how we got on that tangent, but anyways, we had her and it was so amazing just having her finally come out and be the relief of the pain. Like you reach the summit. It is like the rise and climb. You reach the summit and you see the sunrise, you see the sunset. Like, okay, this is worth it. And going downhill will not be as hard. So that's when, once we found out it was a girl, it was Lydia. And then you're like, what's her middle name? So that was
because we discussed
options,
and Anna had different. She talked about 2. It was Lydia Dee for Dietrich Bonhoeffer,
which I did a podcast on. We did a podcast on Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Yeah, and I didn't know like anything about it.
Yeah, that wasn't our best.
You read the book. I had no clue, and you couldn't even hear me. So hopefully you can hear me better on this one.
And we talked about faith, but we also talked about
we
Rose.
Never talked about faith.
We didn't?
No, we talked about Dee and Rose. Okay. And I asked you, what is it going to be? And you're like, Dee Faith.
Lydia Dee Faith. I decided that.
And then you like decided right then, because I didn't even know Faith was on the table.
I didn't know that either until it just...
But it was really cool because it was really an example of your faith that you had, that like, you're like, no, God told me I was going to have a girl and I'm going to have a girl. And like, you stuck with that the whole time. Even though my brother Jeff says when you first got pregnant, you thought it was a boy.
Jeff lies.
Well, no,
I'm going on account. No,
and it might have been true, but you didn't feel like you had a revelation from God as soon as we got pregnant.
No,
it was later
over time.
On.
Yes,
that you felt like God,
like the faith was built.
Because you felt like God told you. I forget. It was several weeks into your pregnancy.
It was like confirmation over time that it was like, just have faith. It's in the unknown. You don't need proof from the doctors. Just have faith. And then even transitioning from what I knew of a hospital birth to a home birth took faith. And then Lydia D was just in this time and age of where Lydia's being born into. I want her to know that standing up for her convictions and for what God says to be true, it might cost her her life. And not only is that okay, that would be amazing because we live for eternity. And I want her to know that we live for eternity, not for this world. So that's what the name means to me. What about you? Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I mean, really, Anna's named both girls.
Yeah. And you're kind of more of like, if we had a boy, it would have been your choice. Because you have more of that conviction.
Yeah. And you just knew, like, you always like had the names already. So I was like, okay, well.
But you have our next boy
only
name
if it's
picked.
not. Yeah, the only thing I care about is if the name's not like weird.
Like grass.
No, like Ray.
Oh yeah. Like I would name a girl.
Cornelia's name is Cornelia Ray,
and he would not.
And I said that's okay as a middle name, but I want my.
I would have named a girl that. Yes.
First full name to be Ray.
Okay, and so Lydia, just so you guys know, Lydia is named after Lydia from Acts 16 in the Bible, but then also Eric Little, who was has an amazing story. You can look his stuff up. We can include links, but he was he died as a POW in a Japanese prisoner of war camp in China. Sharing the gospel. He had the opportunity to actually leave the prisoner of war camp because he was an Olympic gold medalist, and that story is cool of how he stood up for his faith by not running on the Sabbath and choosing a different race that he wasn't supposed to win, and he medaled. So being a POW there, the UN, or not the UN, but United States, they worked out a deal where they did a prison exchange, and Eric Little could leave by another one, and he gave his spot to a woman with young kids, and he left his kids and family behind because he there's no greater love than to lay down your life for another. And so Lydia is a combination of Lydia from Act 16 and Eric Little, so we actually call her Liddy. And so her name just, I think it's beautiful how it came together. It's like this mosaic name, if you ask me. So that's our story. And we loved, and so to go back is we loved like the afterbirth. That was my favorite part. And it just felt like we had so much time with her because we were just relaxing in our own home. And nighttime, like at bed, so we had her at 4:30, we watched a movie, and then we went to bed, and she came to bed with us, and slept in our room the first night versus like the hospital room where people are coming in. So that was probably my favorite part of the home birth, was being home after birth. Some people say, oh, I didn't have to transition to the hospital. I wouldn't have minded transitioning to the hospital. It was transitioning home that we didn't have to do. That was really good. Anything else that you want to add, honey?
No, I think we've gone longer than expected.
Way longer. I probably will separate this into two parts. Yeah. Okay.
I'm falling asleep. We got to get our kids.
We got to go get our kids. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening. Let's end this bad boy. Oh, do you want to say something about rise and climb?
I just blew my nose.
So home birth is a journey of rising and climbing.
No, remember what I said about that?
I don't have to talk about that.
Not as much as you do.
No,
you bring it up a lot.
Anything else that I have to bring up? No. I don't think so.
No, I think we're good.
But the rise and climb mantra definitely helped me of like, yeah, this is tough, but so is climbing a mountain, but it's worth it. So home birth, or no, I should say natural birth. It's worth it. All right. Goodbye.